Cameras, a vital tool in the fight against crime. We bring you the best and worst of what they capture.
Start moving now.
Breaking into cars is a thing of the past. It's the frightening world of carjacking and cloning. Tonight on Police, Camera, Action. Coming up, an attack of the clones. A carjacker reaches the end of the road. And drivers armed to the teeth. Tonight in this special programme, we're looking at the latest scam of the ruthless car thief. It's a practice that has not one, but 3 victims. Now, since 1998, all new cars have been fitted with immobilisers, and that makes them much more difficult to steal. But as Adrian Simpson's been finding out, car thieves are resorting to much more elaborate methods of parting us from our cars. First victim, the person they steal the car from. Second victim, the owner of the car they steal the identity of. And the third victim, you, if you're the mug that buys the stolen car with the false identity.
Fast cars have always been at the top of the car thieves' wish lists. In its day, the Cosworth would have been the creme de la creme. Back then, it was also easier to steal with only the most basic alarm systems available. For a thief, it was just a simple case of popping the lock and hot-wiring the car. But times have moved on, and so has car crime. Modern hot hatches like this Golf GTI come fitted with increased security and immobilisers as standard, making them harder for thieves to steal. This has meant that increasingly they have to steal the keys first before they get their hands on your pride and joy.
Yeah, 4607 is 770 miles an hour.
These carjackers stole the motor 2 days previously after a robbery in Blackburn and are using it as their getaway vehicle. With a boot full of loot, a vehicle search is the last thing this driver wants. Instead, he makes off along residential streets at nearly 80 miles an hour. With the roads relatively quiet, the thief's able to keep his speed up, a big concern for pursuing officers. It looks like he's going to turn left, but with this guy, looks can be deceptive. There's a red light ahead and a queue of traffic waiting, but this driver isn't interested in traffic lights or innocent motorists as he breezes through the junction. He's gone left. One patrol car follows him, but the camera car stays on the main road trying to get in front. The traffic is congested and the pursuit car is forced to weave in and out of junctions, slowing their progress. Just when it seems that the officers in the camera car have lost their man, he shoots past them. They catch up with him again in this industrial area. Hoping to give officers the slip, he suddenly darts down a road on the left, narrowly missing pedestrians. He seems to be taking police on a wild goose chase as he goes round and round the same area trying to shake them off.
It's right onto Thicketford Road, right, Thicketford Road towards Brightman.
The pursuit car is temporarily stuck behind another vehicle, but up ahead the driver is finally brought to a halt. He was convicted of numerous burglaries, dangerous driving and went on to spend 3 years in prison.
As car security becomes ever more developed and sophisticated, so stealing a car becomes ever more harder. So the crafty criminals come up with lots of different scams to circumnavigate that security. And one of the worst examples is called carjacking, and that happens when the innocent motorist pulls up at a junction. Suddenly, you're shunted from behind. So your first reaction is to get out the car, go to the back and see what the damage is. But whilst you're doing that, a hidden accomplice has run to your car, jumped in, but the keys are still in the ignition, and disappears. And so has the car that bumped into you disappeared, and you're left all on your own, without a car.
Across the water in Richmond, Texas, carjacking is on the increase. The thieves have taken the truck at gunpoint and, without warning, unleash a hail of bullets at the police. The carjacking epidemic has become so serious in the USA, the FBI are now responsible for dealing with it. The use of weapons and violence is not uncommon in this type of vehicle theft, making it one of the most dangerous. That's why it's imperative that these suspects are not allowed to escape. They attempt to lose the pursuit cars on the residential streets around Richmond, and fear is growing that innocent pedestrians could be caught in the crossfire. At this petrol station, they make the decision to join the busy highway in the hope of gaining some distance, but by now they have a string of police on their tail, and the pickup is no match for the high-powered pursuit cars. With the high volume of traffic ahead, a collision at these speeds could be fatal, so the officers in the camera car decide to make a brave attempt to stop the suspects. However, they're met with another barrage of gunfire. The officer in the passenger seat is hit in the arm and shoulder. As more bullets fly, there are fears for the lives of other motorists. Then suddenly, the truck's rear tyre explodes, showering debris on the road. The car itself has now become as lethal as the carjacker's gun. The driver makes a quick exit over the wall. Officers are taking no chances. Guns at the ready, they move in to arrest the stranded passenger. The driver is quickly picked up by other units and arrested. Thankfully, this incident ended without the loss of life. This Bonnie and Clyde couple had previous convictions for assault and theft, as well as evading arrest.
So how do we prevent being carjacked? Well, I'm with PC Paul Fletcher, a specialist car crimes officer with the Greater Manchester Police. Fletch, how do we avoid being carjacked?
Just a few simple things. When you get in the vehicle, lock the doors. Other simple tips, when you're leaving the car, such as paying for petrol, going to the newsagent, just opening the gates at home. Take the keys with you and lock the car while you're out the car.
If someone does break into a house at night or does stop you in traffic, threatening you, what's your advice?
The only thing thereafter is that key. If you put a barrier between you and them, that key, then unfortunately you become part of the problem. Just give them the key and let them take it.
Fletch knows from experience how dangerous this phenomenon is. Compared with South Africa and the USA, where this deadly crime originated, it's still thankfully rare. But Fletch and his colleagues are seeing more and more incidents. Tonight, carjackers have just been spotted, and Fletch has been called in to intercept them.
Someone's had a bit of a stinger.
He takes to the back streets in an attempt to get ahead. A pursuit at night is potentially more dangerous, so it's imperative that the suspects are stopped. Up ahead, the car has finally been brought to a halt. A suspect is held in the car and officers take it in turns to guard him. Meanwhile, sniffer dogs are brought in to search the area in case there are any accomplices hiding out. Once the suspect is in custody, Fletch makes an alarming discovery. It's one that's becoming far too common.
That's what you're up against.
You see that? The door pocket there. Nice spot, mate.
There you go, another one here.
When I got hold of his arm, started reaching back of the car. That's what he was going for, wasn't he?
There's another one there. There's two in there.
Thankfully, no one was hurt in what potentially could have been a more dangerous situation.
The boffins are fighting back against carjacking, and I'm going to test out the latest device called Blackjack. It senses when a car's been jacked, and then will automatically disable it. Now, I've carjacked this car, the driver's over there somewhere, I'm going to make my escape. What I'm waiting for is after 15 seconds, there should be a series of beeps. Now that warns me that I have to punch in a specific security code. There's the first set of beeps. No, I don't know the code, so I can't punch it in. That'll be followed by the second set of beeps, which will see my brake lights flashing, the horn sounding, and once that happens, the car then disables itself, and I'm not going anywhere. There we go, there's the alarm. I've lost all power to the car, and it's such a clever machine, it senses when the engine speed is suitable for it to actually begin its work, because it doesn't want to cut it out at high speed. So, I'll be off, thanks.
As we've seen before on police camera action, anti-theft devices would have been useful in stopping cars like this BMW Cabriolet from being stolen. But unfortunately, technology back in 1997 wasn't like it is now. Hiding in the garage, the driver has realised that the Met Police are closing in, so decides to escape. In reverse. Realising that there are quicker ways, he resorts to driving on the pavement with no care for pedestrians or cyclists. Not content with risking their lives, he then takes on the traffic in a game of chicken. Motorists meeting him head-on must be terrified. Attempts to block him at this junction fail, but at least it gets him on the right side of the road. This journey of mayhem is soon to end, as he gets caught up in traffic and police close in to make their arrest. This little trip cost him 1 year in prison and a 2-year driving ban. After the break, we've seen the victims of carjacking. Now meet the other 2 victims in this 3-part crime. Coming up, how your car can be in 2 places at once. A case of double vision, and peeling back the truth behind car cloning. Improvements in car security mean that criminals have to work harder to get hold of your vehicle. But as this clip from 1996 proves, back then it was far too easy to steal your car.
And it's reckless driving, using the 4 lanes, overtaking on the hard shoulder and all lanes.
Lancashire police are in pursuit of this stolen Astra, being driven at speed by a 14-year-old car thief. It isn't just his age that's a concern, it's the fact that he has a young girl and a small baby on board. Aerial support is called in as the youth drives recklessly down the hard shoulder at speeds in excess of 120 miles an hour.
And Oscar November 2-1, the vehicle's off at junction 6, off the motorway 6. Oscar November
2-1. At this roundabout, he has a near miss with another car, but this driver's luck is beginning to run out.
And it's a left. Yeah, 2-1, the vehicle's gone left at the motorway island, now on the dual carriageway, stand by for the road name.
Joining country roads, he continues to drive at motorway speeds, and that's when it all comes undone. At this bend, he loses control and skids off the road, narrowly missing a lamppost.
BD, the vehicle's crashed, just stand by.
Oscar November 2-1, reporting the vehicle crashed.
Police are quick to surround the car and move in to see if anyone's been hurt.
For your information, it would appear that there's a baby, tiny baby, possibly 6 months old, that's been removed from the vehicle and appears uninjured.
It turns out that the 14-year-old youth is the father of the child. He's given an 18-month supervision order for endangering lives, as well as a further 18 months for aggravated theft of a vehicle. He'll also have to take an extended driving test when he's actually old enough to drive. However, joyriders like this are on the decrease, and car thieves are now finding new ways to make use of vehicles they have carjacked.
Also confirming no injuries and no damage to any police vehicles, Roger.
Your car's been carjacked, you report it to the police as stolen, and they're on the lookout for it. But the car thieves have a way around it being detected. Basically, they change the identity of the car, and they start off by looking for a car that's identical to the one they've just stolen from you. They clone the details, copy the registration plates, and before you know it, you've got 2 identical cars on the road. So any speeding fines or parking tickets that I get, they'll all end up coming back to me. And if, of course, the car is used in a robbery, it's my door the police will be knocking at.
Having your car cloned makes you the second victim of this three-victim crime. Cloned vehicles are hard to spot, but up in Manchester, Fletcher's been called in to check on a suspicious vehicle in a nearby car park.
According to the sat-nav, this car should be tucked away in a corner on this car park somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Not hard to spot, really.
It doesn't take long before Fletch discovers the car's hidden identity.
Look at the number plate. So it doesn't fit properly because it's bowed out and it's got big self-tapping screws through it. And if you look at the tax disc, the true registration's been written over with the registration it's showing now very poorly. So I'll find out what it is in a minute. Go ahead.
Ford Focus 5 blue and black, stolen on the 9th of May this year.
Roger, can we have recovery then, please? They've rang it in here, so it's been abandoned. It arrived at 10 o'clock last night and they've smashed all the windows on it. It's been put on false plates. It was stolen during the course of a burglary where the keys were stolen. In Denton, which is the other side of Manchester, as a crow flies, is about 15 miles away. So what it's been doing in the meantime, in that 2 and a bit months that they've had it, is anybody's guess. Just seems strange they've smashed all the windows. It's not something we usually get. And look at the impact marks. It's like a baseball bat or something they've been hitting it with. And they've had a right good time. So we'll get it recovered, see if we get anything forensically off it, and then get it returned to the owner, which probably the insurance company in this case.
The thieves have copied the details of an identical car, which is why they were able to evade capture for so long. Another case of car cloning. Before a car can be cloned, a thief needs to steal it without alerting the police, which is exactly what this carjacker in the US state of Ohio forgot to do. He attacked a man in front of witnesses at a petrol station and made off with his car. Having gained the interest of the police, he makes off along the highway towards Cincinnati's Brent Spence Bridge. He doesn't seem to be in too much of a hurry, and police are unsure what his next moves will be. Suddenly the man jumps from the vehicle and narrowly misses being hit by pursuit cars. But that's the least of his problems, as he takes a giant leap into the dark waters below and is not seen again.
There are around 40,000 cars cloned in the UK every year. So if you're looking for a second-hand car, how do you avoid buying a cloned car? Martin, how do you avoid it?
Well, the best advice is you've got to do your homework. Most vehicles have got 3 identification numbers, 3 unique identification numbers on them. Now, in order to try and minimise the risk of buying a cloned vehicle, you've got to familiarise yourself with what those numbers look like, where they are, what style they're in, what they look like.
So what about if you're sitting at home watching this and you suddenly think, blimey, I think the car I've just bought is cloned. What should you do?
The reality is, if you've unwittingly bought a cloned vehicle and you're driving it out on the road, you're actually driving someone else's stolen vehicle on a false identity. You are not covered, so that if you were to hit somebody or be involved in an accident, you're liable. Your insurance will not pay out.
So I guess the message is, if you're looking for a second-hand car and you want to avoid buying a cloned car, always do your research and don't necessarily think that the cheap car is the best car to buy.
The man who bought this red van should have heeded that advice. Someone thinks it's suspicious, and Martin and Fletch have been called in to have a closer look.
Yeah.
So with a bit of luck.
It only takes a few minutes to discover the van has a false identity.
Beans were in that tin not so long ago.
So what's the real story behind it?
Bravo, Echo, an outstanding stolen.
Roger, when was that stolen, please?
10th of May 2007.
Right, so from the numbers that Martin's retrieved off the vehicle elsewhere, we established a chassis number. So I've just checked that via the police national computer, and it comes back as an outstanding stolen motor vehicle from Bolton. And it's actually on an 03 plate, and this is on an 05, so unfortunately this gentleman's bought himself a stolen motor vehicle.
The new owner of this vehicle is the third and final victim in this three-victim crime.
So, you're going to go and give him the good news?
Yep, I'll go and give him the good news. It's had all its primary identification numbers deliberately changed to match the logbook. Yeah. Have you got the logbook? Yeah. He's absolutely gutted, absolutely mortified. He's a self-employed bricklayer. He's saved up 2 years to buy a van, which will serve him until he retires. He's been duped, well and truly.
People have to be more careful when they buy cars. Unlucky.
When buying a second-hand vehicle, always check with the manufacturer the documents and identification numbers. doing your homework is the best way to avoid an attack of the clones. Finally, another stolen car on fake plates. But attempts to avoid detection by hiding the true identity of the Fiat Punto have failed. Now Greater Manchester Police are onto them. They're wanted in connection with a burglary the previous year in Stockport, which is when this car was taken. The driver is trying to escape down a quiet residential street, paying little attention to the hazards around them. He then takes police round the houses as he tries desperately to give them the slip, but it's not going to be that easy. Once he's on the open road, he puts on some seriously dangerous speed and nearly collides with one car after another. And when he reaches a red light, well, it's not hard to guess what happens next. The near side lane is blocked by roadworks, but the driver doesn't simply ignore the warning signs, he flattens them. Back on clear roads, he suddenly makes the decision to take a detour back onto residential streets. Ignoring the speed restrictions, the driver meets another junction and, well, a distinct pattern is beginning to emerge. But what he doesn't know is that he's heading towards a dead end. This road leads nowhere, except towards the police station in handcuffs. The driver was convicted of handling stolen goods, dangerous driving and driving whilst disqualified. He received a 12-month suspended sentence. Cloned plates weren't enough to hide this thief's string of offences.
The Association of Chief Police Officers has said that the problem of cloned cars is rising so fast that they want a complete overhaul of the number plate system. They want a new central body to be set up to oversee registration numbers and for all cars to be fitted with tamper-proof plates. And that's all for this edition of Police Camera Action. So until next time, let's be careful out there.
The pressure's on tomorrow night when Arsenal take on Celtic at the Emirates Stadium. Our live coverage of the second leg in the Champions League playoffs is tomorrow at 7:30. Next tonight, though, the fight is on for Sam in a ghost town in Supernatural.